The pink apple is La Rouge du Val.
La Rouge du Val, named after
Yes.
this location.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Ria Wincaller, and I am the producer and cider MC of this weekly podcast, where we speak with makers, cider enthusiasts, and folks within the cider trade from around the world. Bringing us into episode 430 of Cider Chat, discussing red-fleshed apples, or pink apples, was Marie Bourut, the cider maker and owner of Cidrerie Manoir du Val. This is a Normandy-based cider. It's in the region of Normandy, which is called High Normandy, and then further to the west is Low Normandy. Don't take it as a plus or minus, like one is better than the other. It's really a regional term. They would say Haute Normandy for High Normandy, or Basse Normandy for Low Normandy, and you find different particularities about each of the regions. But some of the key things that you're going to be hearing in this conversation with Marie, because she is our featured guest this week, is that this is where you'll find, as she says, the most apples. It's where the apples are being grown for the cider in the region. And you're going to hear somebody else on this particular episode who is helping with the translation. If you've been following along, you know that I've been traveling out and about in Ciderville, primarily in France, and then I headed over to the UK. So this episode was recorded in France prior to the French Cider Tour of 2024. I land early, I get my shoes on the ground or boots on the ground. I brought both. And I meet up with the makers, and I'm always kind of meeting new makers. And definitely Marie's going to be on the next Totally Cider Tour for France, because what they're doing there is one part total ingenuity, innovation. She and her husband, Thomas, what they have brought this farm to, this orchard, and what they are creating is really cool. Like, you start with, you're going to be hearing a little bit about a tractor that Thomas, who's an inventor of sorts, not an inventor of sorts, he's definitely an inventor. He retrofitted this tractor into an apple picker-upper. And I have a photo of that. I even have a little video that they sent me so to be able to see it in action. And it's doing great. So that's one thing he did. They also have what they call a white cider. The name there would be Blanc Cidre. And that means that they were able to remove the oxygen, which is what really impacts the color of one cider. She'll be talking about that. And then a big part of our conversation, especially because of Arnold, who met me at the airport. He met me at the airport when I arrived in Paris, and the two of us set out to the region that he really loves, and also to his mom's house. His mom, Charlotte, hosted me that first evening in France. It was just a deep dive into Arnold's world of Sorbus Domestica, or we call them Sorbs, another word that many of you will hear, especially if you're in France, which is corm. So the tree, the Sorbus Domestica tree, is related to apples, pears, medlars. It's within the Rosacea family, because you don't see many of these trees in the U.S. There's only, maybe there's 100 now. I don't know. Maybe there's more, but not too many. You will recall there was an episode called Chocolate Pears. That's with Ben out in Washington State. He works at a nursery that actually grows sorbs. Look, if you want to deep dive into it, and I highly recommend you do, because, look, this is a cool fruit to ferment, to have growing in your orchard, in your backyard. Go to that episode, Chocolate Pears, with Ben Kunis. You could also tag him into social media on Instagram. There'll be links to that. And definitely listen to the episodes with Arnold, which is, one, Sorbs Not Sulfites. Yes, they use sorbs instead of dishing in sulfites into wine and cider. And Marie's going to be talking a little bit about that. Pretty cool on how the sorbs actually fermented out. because they make a Cormé Cidre at this domain, which means she does a blend of sorbs and cider, and now I'm trying to remember, and pears too. It's absolutely delicious. The whole presentation of this bottle is magnificent. You're going to hear all about it. So you are in for a treat. This family who has taken over this orchard blew me out of the water. I love that it's a woman cider maker. It's really nice to highlight women out there in the world. Sorry, guys, but there's not too many. It's kind of a big bro world out there for cider. And so it's nice to see when a woman steps up and has a different kind of palate, a different kind of pizzazz to it. And we're all here for it because we want to have a mix, right? Just like the apples, a little blend of this, a little blend of that. What should be noted is that Arnold and his mother, Charlotte, are the ones who pick up all the sorbs for Marie to then ferment. And they get a ton of these. Now, these are, they're about the size of a quarter here in the U.S. So if you know your coins, let's say it'd be like a 50-cent piece or so in France, similar in the UK. That's about the size of it. So it's a little bit like a crab apple in that way. They're super cute. They're really cute little buggers. They could have some russeting. They could have some greens, some reddish hues. The sky's the limit. And I really spent 24 hours, maybe it's 48 hours. I don't even know anymore. It's all kind of a blur. I'm still in it. And, thank you for hanging in there with me, catching up on this whirlwind cider tour. We saw a lot of sorbs while I was with Arnold. I spent the night with his mom, Charlotte, and prior to meeting her that evening, we had met a count who has a estate, has this area like going up to the estate that are lined with sorb trees, just beautiful. And just to help you a little bit, because I think this might kind of help you solve some of the pronunciations, the tree itself in France is called Cormier. The same thing with a pear tree in France is a poirier. The fermented product is called poirier versus poirier, poirier, poirier. And then you have Cormé versus Cormier. There's an R at the end when it's a tree. That might help you if you're trying to learn a little bit about the French language and how they make that separation between the actual fruit, fermented beverage, and the tree itself. If that messes you up, just go back to the Latin term, Sorbus Domestica, or sorbs for short, right? It's all good. Anyways, there's a lot of audio. I'm still catching up. This is being recorded on the road, so you're hearing this kind of drop down behind the scenes recording with Ria with a handheld microphone, because I don't want you to miss any of this. I have a lot of wonderful audio from this tour, from this experience, and I want to keep on delivering it to you. If you want to catch up and your first time tuning into Cider Chat, go to the last episode, and that was a recap from the French cider tour, and that'll give you a bit of the flavor of not only from my vantage point, because obviously, I'm a little biased. I'll cop to that. I'm a little biased. And you get to hear it from the folks who are on the tour, how they experience France, the culture, the people, the tastes, the sights, the sounds, all that, all pulled together. But in the meanwhile, before we go to our featured conversation with Marie Bourut of Cidrerie Manoir du Val, and I want to note there that there are a number of cideries, both in the part of Normandy that is close to Brittany and in Brittany itself. Not a lot, but there's a couple that have that Finnish name of Duval, but they're very different. So if you want to hunt this one down, you have to put the full name out. You can find all that at ciderchat.com. Just go to episode 430. There sure is a lot going on out and about in Ciderville right now. We are recording this in the fall. It's cider making season, apple picking season. Everybody is in it in the Northern Hemisphere. In the South, you have that long blossom time right now, and you're waiting for those little baby apples to appear. Probably in the month of November. Some are probably out already. So that's what's just kind of happening as a cyclical part of the world of cider and apples. Then we also have these unbelievable floodings happening everywhere, whether it's the hurricane that just hit the East Coast, definitely impacting people's lives and businesses, or in France more recently, right after I left, like a week or so later, really bad flooding there. And we're seeing the same thing with a very rainy scene in the UK. It's overwhelming trying to figure out what to do. And a lot of times folks want to lean on Cider Chat to deliver that news. And Cider Chat would love to continue to bring you news from out and about in Ciderville, and to also featured guests like this week, Marie Bourut. So go ahead and hit the donate button at ciderchat.com. It's all about helping each of us stay connected out there in Ciderville.
Walk into the orchards.
It's time now for our featured conversation. This particular recording took place with the three of us in the kitchen at Manoir du Val, and you'll be hearing both Marie speaking a bit in French, and as it went on, she became a little bit more comfortable with her English. But this gives you a sense of what it's like from a podcaster perspective of blending the two languages together to get things done. So tip of the glass to Arnould Nazarian, who really helped out with the translation, and also Marie, who super delivered and is sharing with you and I so much detail to her cider making techniques, which makes this a very good time to grab a glass and enjoy this cider chat with Marie Bourut of Cidrerie Manoir du Val in Normandy, France.
I have a complicated history.
Of course.
I come from Toulouse, in the south of the France. Je vais faire en français.
Oui, d'accord.
Donc, je suis ingénieure agroalimentaire avec une spécialisation en œnologie.
She studied engineering for food with a specialization for wine. She started in the beer industry. Her husband found a job in Paris.
Okay,
And she found a job in Normandy to do chocolate. She liked to touch the product.
Par contre, j'avais beaucoup de difficultés.
She had difficulties with not be able to take her own decisions.
Et d'être enfermée toute la journée aussi.
And to be the whole day in the office and not outside. She looked for another job.
Okay.
They found an announcement to take over only this cidery. She took the decision to buy the cidery because she wanted to be able to take her own decision.
J'ai acheté la cidrerie le 14 décembre 2001.
They bought on the 14th of December 2001. There were already an orchard with apple trees.
Tout ce qui était transformation.
But there was no transformation. They did not do the cider. Yeah, only cultivating apples. And then the cider was made in subcontract, and they did 30,000 bottles a year. But not by themselves. By subcontracting the manufacturing of the cider.
Aujourd'hui,
Today, 25 years later, nearly 25 years later, they do everything by themselves, fermentation, bottling and so, and they do 150,000 about bottles a year.
So you came here when you were 10 years old?
non, j'avais 26 ans.
She was 26.
Wow.
Et aujourd'hui, j'ai 48.
Wow.
And now,
Do the math. Yeah. Right. Well, that's amazing. How did you learn the skills to become a cider maker? Because originally you weren't doing that.
She knew the theory because she studied it.
Right.
Ok. Et la pratique, en fait, je l'ai eue avec la personne à qui j'ai racheté la ferme.
And the people who sold the farm made practical work with her in the beginning.
Avant d'acheter la ferme,
Before she bought the farm, she began to work 9 months with the former owner.
pour être formé justement.
To learn.
Right. Because it's hard to learn out of a book, right?
Yeah.
You need the practical skills.
It's different.
Right. How has your style of cider making changed over the years? Here's another way to ask that. What do you wish you knew then that you know now?
A producer makes the cider according to his own feeling and taste. 3 things will characterize the cider. It's the terroir, the soil, the varieties of apples, and the producer. The soil here, the water goes away fast, so the apples are very concentrated in everything.
Sugar, right.
Sugar,
aromas, and everything. Very concentrated.
J'ai changé des variétés.
She changed the apples that we found here.
Certaines.
Some of them.
Perfect.
The apples were very bitter, and she wanted more sweet, or no? More fruits than bitterness in the cider. She wanted less bitterness and more fruit tastes.
Fruit. Now, was it the tannins? Did you not want the tannin?
Yeah, the bitter, bitter sweet, and acid. And to make equilibrated cider, you have to mix all these varieties. Or before, the percentage of bitter varieties was too important.
I see. Okay. You want more balance.
For your
Yes.
taste. For your taste.
For your
my
taste.
taste.
Okay. All right.
So on a enlevé.
So she took away a lot of bitter varieties.
2 plants in the place. Pink apple.
Pink apple. She has a specialty of pink rosé cider.
So
Pink cider.
like the flesh of the apple is rouge, red.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All is red. The
But
flower, la sève, tu sais dire sève?
Everything in this apple is red.
Red. You cut and open. It's red.
Red.
Including
Yes.
the juice is red also.
Right.
And so the cider is red.
Very good. So, what are the names of the varieties that you're using? Because I know Ciderville, the people listening will be very curious to know the varieties.
The pink apple is La Rouge du Val.
La Rouge du Val, named after
Yes.
this location.
Yes. Acid variety, we have la petit jaune.
Petit jaune.
Petit jaune.
Little yellow.
Little yellow.
Sweet variety, we have Chlorono.
Oh no, yes, oui.
Douveret de Carouge.
Douveret de Carouge.
Oh, Carouge,
Carouge,
yeah, Château Carouge.
Yes,
Oui.
okay. En variété, bitter variety, we have Fréquin Rouge,
Fréquin Rouge,
Marie Ménard,
Marie Menard,
voilà. Et and the bittersweet variety, we have Douce Moine,
Doucement,
Binet Rouge.
oui.
Voilà.
Oui, Binet Rouge. I see, okay.
One sort of cider
Okay.
is the pink cider. And after, we have several ciders, the sweet cider, the dry cider, and the
Semi-dry.
demi-sec.
Semi-sec.
Ouais,
Right, okay.
between the both.
And the pink cider, is it sweet or
Yes.
dry? It's sweet.
Is sweet because red apple variety is acid apple, very acid. And we make the balance with the sugar.
Right. Oh, so you add sugar to...
No, we don't
no.
add. But the difference between the sweet, the dry cider is the duration of the fermentation is the difference.
I see, okay.
If the fermentation is short, it's cider, sweet cider. If the fermentation is long, it's dry cider. Because the sugar is transformed in alcohol. For the pink cider, 10% was made with pink variety, and the other 50% with other
All the
varieties.
other apples. And you have 11 hectares here of orchards?
We have 7 hectares.
7 hectares.
Okay.
And how close to the the ciderie is
the apple tree are just behind.
on the other side of the
Yes.
production area. Okay.
We can go and visit afterwards.
Okay.
Just behind the house.
20 meters.
And for the apples, are you picking or
No.
do you pick from the ground? How
Yes,
do
you pick from the ground.
They wait until the apples fall down so that they are sure that they are completely ripe.
And are those hand-picked from the ground or do you use machinery?
At the beginning, they picked up by hand. 10 to 15 people came to pick up the apples in the beginning.
A lot of work.
Her husband is a technologist, not an engineer, a technologist,
Alors.
engineer, but he likes machinery.
I understand, yeah.
So he designed and constructed a machine to pick up the apples from the ground.
Presque toutes les machines de la ferme.
Almost all the machinery in the farm were built and manufactured by his
Your husband,
husband.
Thomas, yes.
They met at the engineering. She went to
Agricultural, but technical?
And
technical,
yes,
yes,
voilà.
but
Et
agriculture.
œnologie.
And
And analogy.
And her husband studied agricultural machinism.
Et
Right. And during 15 years, her husband worked as a teacher in agricultural school to teach machinism, agricultural machinism.
I see.
During 15 years at the beginning.
now my husband works here. And je sais pas comment dire. We are complémentaires.
They do-
You complement each other. I understand. Now, there's many machines for apple picking in Normandy already that I have seen.
Yes.
How does his technical piece there differ? Did he build it from the beginning, or did he get the parts? Or I'm just very
alors,
curious because
il a-
this is a big topic for Americans.
We have to wash the apple to avoid contamination.
Contamination, yes,
It's-
right.
voilà.
That's universal.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, and it makes sense.
And you wash pear also?
Ah bah évidemment.
But you don't wash sorb, huh?
Non, non.
Interesting. We're
Sorb?
talking about Sorbus Domestica.
Sorbs, okay.
Sorbs or corn.
We don't wash sorbs because we use recipe.
Ancestral recipe, yes.
Recipe.
So they do also a mix of sorbs with apple and pear, okay? And it's named Cormé Cidre, okay? And why they don't wash sorbs? Because they use old recipe that an 80-year-old Normand farmer gave to them. This man is 80 years old, and it's the recipe of the grandfather.
Okay.
Wow.
And the grandfather, he put sorbs in cider and poiré, c'est pi-
Yes,
c'est, pear cider.
Already fermented?
Oui.
The original recipe was to do a mix of apple and pear, to do cider with this, so ferment it, okay? And then afterwards put sorbs into this.
And were the sorbs pressed, or they just go in whole to that?
Oui,
But because they were heavy in the barrel, they pressed automatically, okay? No?
Et donc the first year, we try to make
The recipe, follow it. Okay.
Voilà.
I understand. First year, they did the original recipe, but because the sorbs were not washed, the result was not good. Okay, there were contaminations.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Voilà.
You know.
So we have
Right.
changed the recipes.
Now you do wash.
No.
No.
No. But we congèle, we froze,
They freeze them,
Okay.
we freeze, and after we press the corn.
and they are pressed. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, donc we have changed to avoid contamination.
Yeah, well, that makes sense to me. And
But excuse me, that's this contaminated cider that was then distilled.
Oui.
Okay, and after distillation, the result was marvelous. It's strange. Cider was not good, but after distillation, it was excellent.
Yes.
And you can taste it if you want.
that's
Yes.
incredible. Maybe that's the magic of the corm. And having Arnold here, we know what he has taught me around corm. It's just this magical tree and fruit, aren't we?
But it's small. That's the problem. It's
Well,
small.
small can be powerful, right?
The Germans do it.
Yes.
They have another reason to do it.
Oui,
Okay.
mais voilà, c'est aussi magique. Tu vois,
This is from Germany, and it's cider with Speierling inside. Huh?
Which is what
Just
you're
a-
doing too. You're doing.
yes, it's not our product.
It's
I know.
for,
I know.
Okay,
I just-
but for the magic,
For the magic
Yeah.
of Speierling, yes.
yes, because
Speierling is the name of corms and sorbs in German. Huh?
Right, one of the many names. Yes.
they put only 5% of corn in this product
I see.
to clarify the cider. Just
That's the magic of corm.
exactly.
Like, how did that happen? And I don't think a lot of people realize with corm that it can do this until we started, connecting Arnold and I. Then it was like people are starting to see the value of this fruit and this tree, which is really magnificent, isn't it? So getting back to your
Yes.
your product here, just to be clear on how you're doing that, you've changed the recipe. Now you get the corm, and you
Arnold gets it.
Arnold gets the corm. Okay, you have about 1 ton per year. How much do you?
Yes, it's
About 1 ton. It's
1 ton.
difficult, huh? But,
Because they're
1 ton.
small.
depuis 2 ans, c'est
Ouais.
voilà.
We get about 1 ton a year. Every year when the season begins, I feel that we won't get it, and then in the end, 6 weeks later, we get 1 ton, about 1 ton.
It's amazing, and that's all picking up off the ground. So it's quite a bit of work. And then you freeze it
Yes.
for when you could get all of enough corn together,
Yes.
and then you press it.
Yes.
And do you ferment that alone, or do you then blend it in with juice with apple
No.
and pear?
Fermentation alone.
Alone, okay.
Alone.
Natural,
Yeah.
natural, just let it go. And can you talk about that fermentation? Does it take longer for corn to
Yes.
ferment versus apples?
Apples, alors, for apples it depends.
Sure.
For sweet or dry
Oui,
cider, for sweet cider is 3 months of fermentation, and dry cider is 6 months of fermentation. For the sorbs,
They're corn.
Corn.
Corn's fine. We can work with corn.
is 6 months of fermentation, and
Is it clear at the end of 6 months? I'm curious.
Yes.
No. Yes. It just clarifies.
They put sugar because of the original recipe, because the old grandfather did put sugar.
Did put sugar in it.
donc
Interesting.
voilà. Donc
But the sugar's not clarifying it.
no.
There is more alcohol in the end. with
Sure,
sugar.
sure. Yeah,
Voilà.
it's gonna drop it.
Et c'est le but. Is the goal of putting sugar is the alcohol is
little higher. Right.
and it change the taste of the Cormé Cidre.
Can you say in what
It-
way?
It's more powerful, and you can drink it with more dishes.
Oh,
There's chicken.
Chicken.
it's good with chicken. Okay.
When there is less alcohol.
On
It doesn't pair as well with different.
on peut pas boire.
Right. Flabby, maybe.
Ouais, ouais,
Oui,
ouais.
flabby. Okay.
Donc with the sugar, more alcohol and plus de puissance, plus
More
de corps, ou de corps, comment on dit?
More body, we say body.
Ouais. In France, on dit plus de corps, mais je ne sais pas le dire en anglais.
Body. You say body? If
Oui.
wine has more or less body, huh?
Voilà.
Roundness.
Voilà.
Thinks that it's good for the product, the end product, to add sugar to get all these
flavor profile.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I'm understanding, so 6 months it ferments. You have added sugar to the initial fermentation, or
No.
after?
During the fermentation.
During the fermentation, it's natural yeast,
Yes.
And then you have some cider and poire that are also separate?
We
or
select.
You select
We
from
select
different-
the cider. We goes.
That's going to
best.
go well with that.
Yes, voilà.
And that changes every year.
Yes.
Okay. So is there a pear also in
Yeah.
this? And so you're making poire here. So you pick the poire, you pick the cider. Which one is the best? And then you make a blend in
Yes.
of that amount.
And is 70% of corm
70% of corn.
and 15 of poiré and 15 of cider.
Yeah, we all understand that.
À
15%
peu
of the apples and pears. Wow, okay.
But it depends of the year.
Sure. How much?
Voilà, la première, je crois que c'était the first year, I think it was 75.
75%. Yeah, well, you get to.
It
That's the
depends
chef.
of the flour,
Right.
of the cider,
Right.
of the poiré.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And the person who originally gave you the recipe, is he still around? The man who gave you the original recipe? And what does he think about this new variation here? Is it close to what he originally had or a little bit different?
Enfin, il est très content.
He's very happy.
He's very happy.
Il est très content de ce produit-là.
We say in France, yeah, Normand people in Normandy are strange. Okay, when you are not from Normandy, huh? It's my case. It's Marie's case.
I see.
It's difficult to get something from him.
See, they hold it close to their chest,
Yes.
you would say.
They don't speak a lot, and when they speak, it's not always clear.
Dis-lui, on dit, le normand, il dit toujours peut-être ben oui, peut-être ben non.
And, people in Normandy always say maybe yes, maybe no. So because this guy has a tree. He's in love with his tree, his Cormé tree.
I love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
He's in love with it. He knows his tree since he was a small boy.
Baby. Oh,
okay,
my gosh.
and it's a beautiful tree. Okay, one of those same as we saw yesterday. Okay, and I thought he would be happy for me to go and pick up his sorbs, but no, he doesn't want. He's 85 and he wants to pick the sorbs by himself for Marie. Okay.
Of course.
Il est très content.
When she goes to him, they have a farm with 100 hectares, and now they don't work anymore in this farm, but it's other people. She can visit everything. Old books with old recipes.
Donc, il est vraiment content de ce
She's very happy with this, but she does not understand it like his grandfather did or not.
I have a feeling it's not. But it changed, you know, I mean, a variation, but you're doing it differently. You're freezing it, all that changes, you know.
Oui, mais
They changed only the fact to not put sorbs, complete sorbs into cider and
after is the same proportion.
Exactly the same.
With sugar, with all.
Even with the apples and pears.
Yes.
Okay. Just for listeners, the bottle is a 750 ml bottle. It's a beautiful shape. The label, as I understand, is a wood label.
Yeah.
So a thinly sliced wood label. I learned that from Arnold. And it's corked. So is this like a traditional method for sparkling?
It's sparkling. It's sparkling.
It's
yes.
sparkling. So you.
And I think his grandfather's recipe is not sparkling.
Oh, it was sparkling.
Was it?
Si.
Yes.
Oui,
Okay.
oui.
Really?
Oui.
So.
Ah oui, c'est assez sûr.
There you go. There's the history. So you have the primary fermentation, right? Then you blend in the apples and the pears. And how do you not have any yeast at the bottom? How do you do that? Is it there's a little bit of yeast? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the bottle has like a little nipple underneath. Yes.
But on filtre.
You filter. Okay, that's my question.
There are still yeast inside.
There's still yeast inside. There's
The filtration is not sterile.
It's not sterile.
It's not a sterile, but so that removes some of the yeast, some of the that you would see at the bottom, and then you bottle it before it's completed fermentation, the secondary, and that's how you get the sparkling? Or how do you get it to be sparkling? It's still alive in the bottle.
Oui.
Okay. That's what I'm saying here.
Donc,
It's not completely fermented in the barrel at the end.
Right,
It's
right.
very dry, but
Right,
not
right, not complete,
100%
après, on ajoute le cidre et le poiré.
Then they put cider and poiré inside.
On filtre.
They filter.
You filter it pretty much immediately. A couple, a week or two,
Oui.
whatever. But it's still, it kind of kicks up and the yeast gets a little activated, settles down, and then you filter.
3 weeks after blending.
Okay.
Blending.
Pour que ça fermente un peu ensemble.
Right.
So that it continues to ferment together.
Together.
Right, get it.
There is a third fermentation.
Fermentation in the bottle. Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
But without added sugar at that time. Huh?
Alors, the first fermentation is without sugar.
Without sugar.
After, the second fermentation is with the sugar. And the third fermentation is in the bottle.
Without sugar.
Without
sugar,
Okay.
right. That's what I understand.
Because
Okay.
you bottle a little bit before the end of the fermentation.
Yes.
Okay.
And I ask this question knowing that there is very few people in the world who could make this product because there's only certain areas in the world where the Cormé grows, right? Maybe Germany, but they're not doing like that. And you don't see this tree. I mean,
Can I tell something?
yeah, sure.
Nowadays there are 4 producers of Cormé in the world. Okay? Cormé or Cormé Cidre. 4. Next year maybe a 5th one. And or 6.
Right.
5 or 6 next year. Okay? In California, on the west coast, there are at least 2 places where there are enough Sorb service trees, true service trees, Cormier, where this could be made. Small quantity, but there are 2 places where there are enough Cormier where this could be made also. Okay, today those fruits are not used today. They rot on the soil. And I find that this is a scandal.
This is the worst thing in the world for Arnold.
Mais je pense que
But that's changing. He knows he's talking to an English-speaking audience, so he's really trying to get the message across. Pick up your sorbs and start fermenting.
Yeah, but only in the Sonoma County and somewhere in Oregon. Okay, I can give you.
Well, there's also up in Washington State where Ben is based, who helped translate
but he
the
has
book.
not enough trees. Maybe 5 trees.
Right. Well, these could be like small batch.
Yeah,
versus,
very small batch,
versus commercial.
But there are enough trees in the Sonoma County, and there are maybe, I think, enough trees by a pomologist who is now dead and who planted a row somewhere in Oregon, South Oregon. Okay, I can give the details if people are interested.
Okay, all right, there you go.
So it's possible to do Cormé. She says 100%, 100% Sorb juice everywhere where there are trees, but there are trees only in Europe.
Right? Well, this is true. And that's what makes it so special.
But she does Cormé Cidre with apple and pear in the mix because it was tradition here in south of this region.
But that's your specialty.
In this small region.
That's your specialty. How many years have you been making that now? Commercially?
3
years. And the visitors, do they understand? How much do you have to explain what this product is to the people coming to the
Okay, it's always, she says, when somebody comes and sees this beautiful bottle, it's always very long to explain what it is because nobody knows Cormier, Sorbs.
Donc, on explique le cormier, l'arbre.
So I must begin to explain the tree, everything what was made in the ancient times with Cormier, including wood. Okay, you remember that wood was very important.
with the sorb? Yes.
And maybe that's why there are not as much trees as I would hope because they were cut for their wood.
Right.
Okay.
La corme, le fruit.
Then they explain the fruit.
Yeah. So you have to do a lot of explaining.
Yes.
At this point, It's kind of like cider in America, where people at first didn't know. It's only really since 2014 that cider has become more and more popular. And now in 2024, you will see cider available in so many more places in the U.S. Not as many as we would like, but it's growing. So this is catching up to the apples and pears, but you're doing some good work there. I want to talk a little bit about your pears, your pois. Are those perry pears? Are they bitter pears? Yes, so you're not doing eating pears, okay. And is the pois and the cidre all natural fermentation? All natural. A primary fermentation, and then a secondary fermentation in the bottle? Okay, any filtering? You filter this. There's three fermentations.
Three
with the
fermentation
corn,
is
but with
for cider or for pear cider.
Right.
It's just two fermentation
Just-
in barrel, and the other in the bottle.
Okay.
Okay, we filter.
You do filter?
Yes.
Okay.
Ouais, comment on dit filtre?
Yeah, they filter so that it's more beautiful in the bottle and in the glass.
Okay, yeah, the clarity. And any sugar added to those
No,
products?
just only on the Cormé Cidre.
Only in that.
Because of the old recipe.
Never we add sugar because we have a lot of sugar in our apple.
Right.
And if we have
No
in
treatment.
organic agriculture.
Do you do kieved?
Yes.
Okay, so
So for the apple, we pick up the apple with the
Your machine, right.
La machine, on l'appelle la DeLorean.
A DeLorean. They call this machine the DeLorean.
DeLorean. I want to see that.
En référence au film Retour vers le futur.
Because of Return to the Future, the movie.
I love it.
Parce que la machine.
It looks like a
Futuristic.
Voilà. Et mon mari.
Her husband, while he was making the machine, had his hair like dog.
In Back to the Future.
Yes.
I love it.
It's not a beautiful machine.
Well,
Okay.
it does the job. It does the job,
Yes.
and that's all that counts.
Yes.
Yeah, in my mind, yes. Okay, so you're doing kieved. Yeah.
Voilà.
Once they have this chapeau, they say in Normandy and in France, the soutirer means soutirer.
We take
take the juice from under the chapeau.
when the juice is clear.
It goes. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Barrel and it's dirty. We stop the pump.
Right, when
And-
it's down, all the way down, it's strained out, you stop the pump. It goes into, when you say barrels, is this metal barrels like stainless steel or is it oak?
Yes, it's stainless steel. Yes, stainless
Inox.
steel.
Do you do any barrel aging? Do you work with oak at all?
We use always oak for the Calvados and the Pommeau.
Okay.
But because the wood gives aromas to the products.
Wood is only allowed when in the end product there's a lot of alcohol, at least 12% or 11% for wine, or Calvados it's even more for brandy, because the bacteria cannot live when there is a lot of alcohol. When you do cider for yourself, you do whatever you want and you take your risk. So there are still cider aged
It's
in
very
oak.
interesting because from here I'll be going to the UK, and many of the cider makers are working in oak barrels. So different parts of the world do it differently,
Yes.
and that is the beauty of it. And barrels are very difficult to work with. Okay, so you have the apple, you have the pois, you have the Cormé Cidre, and you have
A lot of products.
Calvados. Are you distilling the Calvados?
Yeah.
You are? Okay. What type of still do you use? What kind of...
Un alambic à colonne.
Limbic, with a column. It's on site. And Pommeau?
Pommeau. It's a mix between apple juice and Calvados.
Calvados. And your Calvados, is it like AOP? Or do you do any kind of AOP
We have
AOC?
4 different Calvados, 4 years old, 6 years old, 8 years old, and 15 years old. But the name is different. Il y a le vieux, vieille réserve, hors d'âge.
Et voilà. Oui. Okay, yeah, those are the different ages that you will see on the bottle. Okay. And is there other products?
Yes, apple juice.
Apple juice, of course.
In cider, we have white cider. It's new.
White cider.
Yes.
What is this?
Alors, the color of the cider, comment on dit, est dû.
Is due to.
Is due to the oxidation of the apple.
Okay.
When we cut apple, oxidation, and the apple become
Brown.
Yeah, brown or yellow.
Before we press the apple, we wash the apple.
You grind it up.
Yes.
You grind it up. Okay.
And the apple
it turns it brown, right?
Voilà, okay.
Oui.
And the color go to the.
It transfers to the cider, and you see the color.
And for not white cider, we block the oxidation.
That's quite interesting. Okay, how do you block the oxidation?
With two axes.
Like a closed system.
First, with rapidity, we go fast between the broyage, c'est quoi?
The grinding?
The grinding and
okay.
the press.
Okay.
Okay. No time.
No time. What kind of press do you have?
Press à bande.
Press the bone. Is it hydraulic?
No.
Not hydraulic.
It's a press my husband.
Your husband made. Oh my God. Okay. And you press it?
And after, sous atmosphère contrôlée.
It's controlled.
Control atmosphere.
The atmosphere.
Oui.
You're controlling the atmosphere.
To avoid the oxygen.
How do you control the atmosphere?
It's my husband.
Of course. Wow. Fantastic. What a perfect marriage. Controlling the atmosphere stops it from doing that.
It's a new machine by her husband.
I hear this.
So they grind, and then immediately afterwards they go to the press, and above the press there is injection of gas without oxygen.
But some other gas.
Yeah,
some gas like CO2?
No, with chlorure de calcium. En fait, c'est avec du sel.
He does something with the salt. Salt. So a chemical reaction. It creates CO2.
Non, ça ne crée pas du CO2. C'est mais bon, ça c'est compliqué.
It's complicated. It's okay.
It creates a gas without oxygen, which is injected above the press while it presses.
Wow, okay. Wow. And why to do this? What are you noticing that is different with the white cider? Are you calling it Blanc Cider or?
Oui, cidre blanc.
Cidre. Oh.
Voilà. On a le cidre rosé, on a le cidre blanc.
Very specialized.
Et le but était de faire comme du vin blanc.
Someone came to them and he wanted a cider with the same color than white wine. As white as possible, as transparent as possible. And then they said, no, it's difficult, we will not do it. And then her husband had ideas, okay?
I don't know anyone else making white cider.
Non, personne. Et le but, c'était, comme du vin blanc, de boire avec des fruits de mer.
Okay. And the goal was to use it like white wine to drink with fish. And things like seafood.
Oui. On the Cider Blanc, what is the alcohol level?
5 or 6%.
5 or 6%. Have the juice,
and we wait.
You wait for it to drop down, the particles to drop down.
Yes.
You have, it's not lees, but it's a sediment. Then you filter, you rack it over. Right,
in a fermentation barrel.
Natural fermentation.
And after we filter.
You filter.
And we put in the
bottles, and it's sparkling.
Yes.
Sparkling too. A little. Yeah. All your products, poiré.
Le poiré is sparkling. The cider is sparkling. Mm-hmm. But Cormé Cidre and Cidre Blanc, white cider, is a little
like a pet nut. Like a pet nut. Oui, little, like very small.
Very small and not a lot of sparkle.
Not a lot of sparkle, but just enough. Fine. Wow, that's amazing. I'm going to switch here now. For people to get your product, they must come and visit you. Oui?
30% is sold in their own store. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. 70% of the production is mainly sold to people who have restaurants or stores or cavistes in the Paris region.
Okay. Could we find your product at Château
Beaumesnil, just near of the...
Is that like a park?
Yes.
Château? Oh, that's a park?
It's a big, beautiful chateau.
Okay.
Castle.
Okay.
Château d'Harcourt aussi.
Château d'Harcourt.
You have your products at Château d'Harcourt, no?
The biggest customer
Yes.
is La Ferme de Galie.
La ferme de Galie?
Ouais. It was the old farm of the Versailles Chateau.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a wall, okay? And behind the wall, it's the arboretum of Chevreloup. And in the arboretum of Chevreloup, there are 5 Sorbus Domestica,
Oh my goodness.
which I cannot say if I take or not fruits from them because it's not allowed.
So is that farm?
It's in Versailles. It's a place where you can go and pick your apples and pears and something by yourself and
Very
then
nice.
pay and go
Very
away
nice.
with them. But also strawberries and things like this, depending on the season.
Very
And they have a store, and I didn't know that they have your products there because I go from time to time to the arboretum, which is on the other side of the wall. And the wall was built by Louis XIV, Louis XIV, because he used to hunt in that place where there is now the Ferme de Galie and the arboretum.
I love it. And in Paris proper, is there any locations?
Yes, les Mains Vertes.
Main Verte is a chain of stores, and Main Verte means green hand. Do you allow me to ask a question?
Sure.
You are not directly in the cider region of Normandy, which is further west. It's in Cambremer and Pays de Caux and so. You are not c'est pas directement dans le pays. Ménilhanouche, it's the town where we are now, and she says it's the town in France where there are the biggest number of apple
trees for cider.
Cider apple trees.
Where producers will buy the apples and then bring it to their
Dans les cidreries, par contre.
But when you travel through Ménilhanouche, you don't see them.
Si, yeah.
There are many orchards, she said.
Many orchards.
I never saw them. I saw one or two, but not a lot of them.
Il vient pas.
He's looking for swords. He doesn't see the apple trees.
Exactly.
No. I'm 40 kilometers away.
We know you're busted. The truth is out there, Arnold. An apple tree, what is it? You know.
But there are not many cider makers.
Il n'y a pas beaucoup de producteurs.
Okay, no, not a lot of producers. Maybe you are alone here, no? In Ménilhanouche, no?
Non, il y en a. Il y a Vendorène, il y a Vélissure, il y a... Oui.
So you had chance that I called you 6 years ago. Because when you are in Cambremer and so, you see only orchards and cider producers. Yeah, and you are not on the route du cidre.
Non, alors je ne suis pas dans la route du cidre.
Is it because of this that you are more creative? She thinks yes, but she's not alone to be more creative.
And I think it's changing in France. I'm seeing more creativity happening.
En fait, si on prend...
There were 2 Normandies, high and low Normandy, we say in France. High Normandy and low Normandy. Here we are in high.
Ici, on était dans la
High Normandy.
Et la haute Normandie...
North Normandy.
Ouais, ouest surtout.
North and south. Est. We say high and low, and in fact it's north and south, northwest and southwest. Here we are nearer from Paris, and they are more influenced by Paris, Paris market.
Voilà, très traditionnel.
Okay, but the other Normandy, the low Normandy, is further from Paris, and it's more traditional than here.
Donc la majorité des producteurs en basse Normandie, c'est la ferme.
In low Normandy, further away from Paris, it's generation after generation in the same farm. So the old people say how the younger must do it, and then they don't change anything.
That is changing though. I'm noticing.
Non, mais c'est compliqué.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
C'est compliqué de changer et voilà. En Haute-Normandie.
Because of the Paris market, she said they are more creative, and it's still possible to buy cideries and orchards, which is less
that's
available.
the number one point right there, that you could still do that, which is difficult.
So she has a lot of colleagues who do not come from the cider world and who bought cideries like she did
En Haute-Normandie.
in High Normandy, in the northwest of
Et effectivement, le cidre évolue.
So she has colleagues, for example, who does mix with beer cider beer.
Yeah, on the same farm. On the same farm, are they mixing the fermentation?
In cider, but one of their cider is a cider with houblon.
With houblon, it's that plant that gives the taste to beer. Houblon,
Hop cider. Yes, I'm seeing that more now. Manoir du Val, Agathe Lettier, a woman cider maker out in Pendapi by Honfleur.
Honfleur is Haute Normandy.
But she is making a cider with hops now, and that's very popular in the U.S. Also, we see it a little bit in England. So in the time that I've been coming to France since 2016, I have seen big changes happening in the country, and I think it's because cider's popularity is growing.
Le cidre est une boisson dans l'air du temps.
It's fashion.
Parce que c'est un produit c'est un produit qui est peu alcoolisé.
Because it does not contain a lot of alcohol.
It's natural, gluten-free.
It's less expensive to do than beer because you don't have energy to. She says beer is bitter. Okay, it's a characteristic of beer. It must be bitter. While in the cider world, you will find cider which without bitterness. And maybe young people love this.
Like that,
non, mais tu peux trouver.
If you look for the cider that you will love, you will find it.
This is true. Voilà. This is true. It's a wonderful time to be a cider maker, I think, at this time in 2024 and looking to the future, because I feel the world of cider makers are finally being noticed at a level because of the low alcohol. It's healthy, although you have to, be careful.
We have
the carbon balance of orchard is positive.
Sure, very positive, very positive. Well, I know that you have to leave shortly. I'd like to thank you for taking the time today and telling us your story, and I wish you the best of luck. It's very exciting what you're doing, and I know that the world of cider will be following your path. So thank you for your time.
Smelling all the blossoms.
Make sure to check out the show notes at ciderchat.com for this here episode 430 with Marie Bourut of Cidrerie Manoir du Val. And you'll get to see both she and her husband Thomas and that magical fermentation of the corm, apples, and pear called Cormé Cidre. Absolutely delicious, and everything here just blew me out of the water in all the delicious ways one would expect when you meet a maker who really impresses. From there, I left the manoir in the early part of the day and made my way to Caen in Normandy, where I met up with a Michelin star chef. Now, I can't promise you anything, but we might be having a little Michelin star chef here on the podcast coming up. So do stay tuned for that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And while you're there, give a little like to this channel, because it sure helps us get seen too in that algorithm that I talked about earlier. Yeah, we're all working at Ciderville any way we can, helping each other float our boat to the highest sea and stay abreast of all that water out there.
Kicking up our feet.
And if this visit to Marie kind of perked your interest up about France, Or perhaps you're thinking, geez, I wonder what other Totally Cider tours that they are going to be offering at Cider Chat. Well, you might want to send an email this way because there are some in the hoppers. Remember, not only was I in France planning for the next Totally Cider tour, but I also went over to the UK, both to Somerset and Herefordshire and also Gloucestershire to check out the scene there and start making plans. So if you want to come along with me and some fun-loving cider fans, send an email this way to info@ciderchat.com so we could get you on the list to know about early releases of upcoming Totally Cider tours. And with that, I leave you here. This is Ria Windcaller signing off for now. Looking forward to seeing you in Ciderville.
We drink it like this. There is a reason why we do it like this.
Yeehaw!